Welcome to the Grant Writing Simplified podcast. This is the place to learn how to make a big impact in your community through grant writing and nonprofit consulting. The world needs you to step forward as a grant writer and use your skills to lead with confidence. I'm Teresa Huff, former special ed teacher turned grant writer and nonprofit strategist. In my 20 years of freelancing, I've helped nonprofits triple their funding and exponentially increase their reach. Now I'm stepping up to mentor freelancers and nonprofit leaders like you who are ready to take your skills to the next level. It's time to get intentional about your vision so you can create lasting change in your community. Learn the skills and strategies you need to become the grant writer the world needs. Let's do this. Hey friends, it's Teresa and welcome to Grant Writing Simplified episode 42. I wanted to do a quick Q&A today because I've gotten some good questions lately, and it's been a while since we've done one of these Q&A calls where I just go through and explain how I would handle a situation that you guys are facing. This is the type of thing that we cover in my Fast Track to Grant Writer program too, so it'll give you kind of an idea of what we do. In there, I can also show you examples, and then you have assignments where you work on this yourself, and I can give you feedback and we work together so you can actually practice those skills. Today, I also want to let you in on something new I'm doing, and I'm really excited. Next week, I have a special podcast power series called Grant Writer Fast Focus. And I've never done this before, but I'm excited. It's a 4-day special series that I'm working on behind the scenes, and it'll start next Tuesday and go for 4 days in a row. So you guys are getting some jam-packed stuff. We're going to talk through the mindset of grant writing and some of the questions I keep hearing, like, where do I start and do I have what it takes to be a grant writer? So make sure you mark that and come back next week for those 4 days in a row, because we're going to talk through some good stuff, and I'll have a download for you that you can go through the worksheet and some of the exercises yourself to start thinking through those things. All right, so today I want to address a question that I got in a message, and it was, how do you know what is sufficient when you're working on a grant application? There could always be more to write about your program. And this is such a good question, and it's so true. And really, the answer is not cut and dried because applications are so different. One application might have a really tight word or character limit, and another one might just be very open-ended, like you can write as much as you want, write a whole novel. So how do you know how much to write? So before you start in and write the next great novel, let's keep a couple of things in mind. First of all, sometimes the application will have a very tight word count or maybe character count or a page count, and you're forced to keep it tight. If you're not sure how to do that, go back to episode 16, where I give you some pro tips and some examples on the blog even of how to write tight and what I mean by that. That's so important. Whether there is a character limit or not, you really need to make sure your writing is clear, concise, and compelling. Those are the 3 things that I really try to stress with my students, is make sure it's clear, concise, compelling. And those are the things you need to focus on. And number 2, focus on the application guidelines and the end goal of what you're asking for. Think about what they need to know to make the best informed decision for this situation. They may not need to know all the ins and outs of your entire organization. Think about your pantry in your kitchen. Just because you may have a lot of ingredients in your pantry doesn't mean you pull all of them out and use every single ingredient in the same dish. Pull out the ingredients that you need for that dish to make a really good end product and that will make the most impact. So it's the same way with your grant. Pull out the things you want and really highlight those. The other things may not be necessary, and it'll just bog down the application. And number 3, remember there's a person at the other end of everything you write. Even though, yes, it may be in an online system, it may be just something that you print out and mail off and you never see what happens to it after that, there's always a person on the other side of everything. So write for that person. Remember, make it clear, concise, and compelling. Don't write so much that their eyes start to glaze over, they lose track, they fall asleep. You don't want that. You want to include what's important, but you don't need to include everything. So think about those three things. What restrictions do you have to stay within? Focus on the guidelines and the ingredients that you need, and then write for the person. Okay, this is a short episode, but I just wanted to give you kind of a quick power tip on that. And speaking of power, remember, come back next week for the special podcast Power series, Grant Writer Fast Focus. I'm really excited about that. And it's going to have a lot of good tips. It's going to address some of the main questions that I hear from so many of you. Where do I start? Do I have what it takes? That's probably one of the biggest things, is people doubting themselves, and they are so competent. And they do have what it takes. They just can't see that. So we're going to talk through that. We're going to help you overcome some of those hurdles and figure out what you need to do next so that you can get started with your grant writing career. And if you don't want to wait for this special series and you are just ready to jump right in, the Fast Track to Grant Writer is open. I am enrolling now for June. We're going to start a new cohort this summer. So by the end of August, if you want to be so much more prepared and confident in your grant writing career, then sign up. Go to teresahuff.com/VIP and do that today. I would love to support you in this journey and help you have the confidence and competence that you need to be a more competitive grant writer. And say, friend, would you do me a quick favor? If you know someone who could benefit from these tips and from these grant writing episodes, would you please share this with a friend? Just forward it to them. Let them know, hey, this has been really helpful. I think you'd like this too. Help spread the word. Let's make sure we are doing our part to change the world and help other people do the same. All right, my friends, have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.